Ethan Cross adjusted the straps on his exploration pack as the shuttle touched down on the dusty surface of Varela 9. The planet was nothing like the bustling hubs of human colonies he had visited before. Its red sand stretched for miles, broken only by jagged cliffs and scattered rock formations. The sky was a deep coppery orange, and two suns hovered low, casting long, sharp shadows across the barren landscape. For a moment, Ethan paused and let himself take in the silence. It was almost too quiet, the kind of quiet that pressed against your ears and made the mind race with thoughts of what might be hiding just out of sight. But Ethan had spent years exploring uncharted worlds. He had learned that fear and curiosity often walked hand in hand, and curiosity usually won. He activated his environmental scanner. The readings were normal for a deserted planet. Low oxygen levels, minimal native life, but rich in rare minerals. This was exactly why he had chosen Varela 9. A solo explorer like him didn't need bustling cities or active colonies. He needed isolation, the chance to find something no one else had found. As he trekked across the dunes, his boots sinking slightly into the fine red sand, something unusual caught his eye. A glint just on the horizon shimmered unnaturally in the sunlight. Ethan squinted. There was a structure there, geometrically precise, angular, and far too organized to be natural. He quickened his pace, heart picking up slightly, not out of fear but anticipation. Most of the abandoned outposts humanity had discovered so far were small research stations or military bunkers. But this looked different. It rose like a jagged monolith from the sand, its surface covered in intricate alien patterns that seemed to shimmer faintly as he approached. When he reached it, Ethan realized the structure was massive, easily spanning several hundred meters across. Its walls were made of a metallic material that neither reflected the sunlight nor absorbed it completely. It felt alive, almost breathing beneath his touch. The symbols etched into the walls glowed faintly where his hands brushed them, sending a shiver down his spine. Ethan felt a strange pull, as though the outpost itself was aware of him. He activated the access panel at the main entrance. Nothing happened. The doors remained firmly closed. He frowned, but then noticed faint, almost imperceptible grooves along the floor leading toward the doors. He followed them and placed his hand on the central glyph at the base of the doorway. The ground vibrated slightly and a low hum filled the air. Slowly, the massive doors parted with a grinding sound that echoed through the vast emptiness, revealing a cavernous interior. Stepping inside, Ethan felt the temperature drop immediately. The air was stale but breathable. The main chamber stretched endlessly, with shadowed corridors branching off in every direction. Above him, the ceiling was covered in luminous panels that pulsed gently, casting a soft, otherworldly light over the alien architecture. Ethan moved cautiously, letting his scanner sweep the area. Energy readings flickered intermittently, suggesting that some of the systems were still operational despite centuries of abandonment. For a moment, he allowed himself a grin. This was exactly the kind of discovery he lived for. A fully intact alien outpost untouched by humans or time. As he explored further, he discovered rooms filled with machinery he couldn't begin to understand. Large tanks, intricate circuits, and strange devices lined the walls. Some of the machines seemed dormant, while others flickered as though testing their power. But the strangest part was the silence. Not just the absence of sound, but the deep, expectant quiet of a place waiting for something or someone. Ethan set up a small camp near the central chamber. He needed to rest, recharge his equipment, and plan his next steps. But sleep did not come easily. Every shadow seemed to shift slightly when he looked away. Every faint hum made him tense. Yet he felt no real fear, only a deep curiosity and an odd sense of recognition, as though the outpost was familiar in a way he could not explain. The following morning, Ethan decided to explore one of the side corridors. The walls here were lined with panels covered in alien writing. As he brushed his fingers across them, tiny lights blinked on in sequence. The symbols glowed brighter and the hum intensified, vibrating through the floor and into his bones. And then he saw it, an enormous chamber at the end of the corridor, its walls lined with crystalline structures that pulsed with soft blue light. At the center of the room was a massive spherical device, suspended above the ground by invisible forces. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, and it emitted a gentle rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Ethan approached cautiously. The sphere seemed to respond to his presence. The pulse grew stronger, syncing with his own heartbeat. He reached out, hesitated, then placed a hand on its smooth surface. In that instant, his mind filled with visions, cities suspended in the sky, alien landscapes, battles fought with technology that defied logic, and a proud race whose empire stretched across countless stars. Ethan stumbled back, breathless. The visions faded as quickly as they had come, leaving only a lingering sense of awe. This was no ordinary outpost. This was a memory, a vessel of a civilization long gone. A soft, melodic voice filled the chamber. "You have come," Ethan froze. There was no one else in the room, or even on the planet. Yet the voice was clear, calm, and strangely familiar. Who's there?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "I am Aelra," the voice said. "Caretaker, observer, you are recognized." Ethan's mind raced. An AI, he realized. This outpost wasn't abandoned in the way humanity thought. It had been waiting, watching. And somehow it had sensed him. I'm just an explorer," Ethan said. "I don't know why I'm here." "You are more than you know," Aelra replied. "Your arrival was anticipated. Will you stay and learn?" Ethan hesitated. The sensible part of him wanted to leave, report the outpost, and return with a team. But a stronger part, the part that had pushed him to explore every unknown planet, that had risked life and limb for discovery, urged him forward. I'll stay," he said finally. "I want to understand." The chamber pulsed brighter, almost as if in approval. Machines whirred softly, doors opened, and pathways that had been hidden in shadows revealed themselves. Ethan realized this was not just a place of memory. It was alive, reacting, adapting to his presence. Days passed, and Ethan settled into the outpost. He explored every corridor, studied the alien machines, and learned to navigate the strange interface of glowing symbols and crystal panels. The outpost began responding to him. Lights followed his movements, doors opened as he approached, and holographic images of alien worlds appeared when he touched certain panels. Despite the excitement, Ethan felt the weight of isolation. There were no other humans, no signs of life except the faint echo of Aelra's voice. Yet the more he explored, the more he felt connected to the outpost. It was as if it recognized his humanity, the creativity, the curiosity, the resilience, and responded in kind. One evening, as two suns set in the copper sky, Ethan stood at the edge of a balcony overlooking the vast alien complex. The wind carried fine red sand that glittered in the fading light. He touched the railing, a structure of alien metal that somehow felt alive under his fingers. Aelra's voice filled the chamber again. "You have chosen to stay. That is wise. Great understanding will come, but the path will test you." Ethan smiled faintly. "I've never been afraid of tests," he said. The outpost thrummed around him as if acknowledging his words. Somewhere deep within its crystalline heart, a pulse grew stronger, and Ethan knew that what he had discovered was not just a relic of a lost civilization. It was a gateway to knowledge, power, and a legacy that could alter the future of humanity itself. As night fell on Varela 9, the alien outpost stood silent and vast under the twin moons, but within its walls a new story had begun, one in which a human explorer had walked into the heart of the unknown and awakened a sleeping intelligence. And though Ethan did not yet know it, what he found inside that abandoned outpost would change not just him, but everything humanity thought it knew about the universe. Ethan awoke to a faint hum vibrating through the floor of the alien outpost. The red light from the twin suns filtered through the metallic walls, casting long moving shadows that made the chambers appear alive. For a moment he forgot where he was. Then the reality of Varela 9 returned. The vast empty planet, the strange alien structures, and the pulsing core he had touched the day before. He stood and stretched, listening carefully. The hum had grown stronger overnight. It wasn't mechanical noise, nor was it like anything he had heard before. It resonated deep and steady, almost like the heartbeat of the outpost itself. Ethan's curiosity, always stronger than his caution, urged him forward. He stepped into the central chamber, the walls now glowing faintly in response to his presence. The crystalline sphere, the core, hung suspended above the ground, its surface shimmering with shifting colors. Ethan approached slowly. Every step seemed to send ripples through the pulsing light, as if the core were aware of him, as if it were waiting. Tentatively, he reached out and touched it again. Instantly, a surge of visions filled his mind. Cities floated above alien oceans, massive structures stretched toward glowing skies, and armies of beings moved with precision and purpose. Ethan stumbled back, breathless. The images faded quickly, leaving him overwhelmed and awed. Then a voice, calm and melodic, spoke again. "You have returned." Ethan looked around, though he knew the source of the voice was the outpost itself. "I don't understand," he said. "Why me?" "You are recognized," Elra replied, her tone steady, almost patient. "The outpost waits for those capable of understanding and capable of choice. You are one of them." Ethan frowned. "Understanding what?" "The legacy of the Valari," she said. "Their knowledge, their mistakes, their hopes. You may carry them forward or ignore them. The decision is yours." The weight of her words pressed down on him. Ethan had encountered alien technology before, but never anything like this. This was not just machinery. It was intelligence, memory, and history, all preserved within the outpost. The Valari had built it not just as a shelter, but as a testament, a living record of their existence. Over the next few days, Ethan began to explore more of the outpost, guided subtly by Elra's presence. Machines that had appeared dormant began to react to him. Panels lit up when he approached. Doors opened smoothly, and strange holographic displays activated at his touch. Each discovery seemed carefully designed to teach him, yet none of it felt forced. He found corridors filled with alien machines whose purposes he could not fully understand. Some seemed to monitor environmental conditions. Others projected holographic maps of star systems long since abandoned. The more he explored, the more he realized the Valari had been a civilization of remarkable intelligence and precision. Yet there was also something missing, something that seemed to frustrate the outpost itself. "You sense it, do you not?" Elra asked one evening as Ethan examined a console covered in glowing alien script. The Valari were brilliant but rigid. They could never see beyond the limits of their logic. Ethan studied the console. The symbols shifted as he watched, responding to his thoughts. I see it," he said slowly. "They knew everything about science, strategy, but not about creativity. Or flexibility." "Exactly," Elra said. "And you are human. You see possibilities where they saw limits. That is why you were recognized." The realization made Ethan pause. Humans had survived countless challenges, not because of perfect planning or unmatched technology, but because of adaptability, imagination, and perseverance. Perhaps that was why the Corps had responded to him. Perhaps that was why the Valari had designed the outpost, not just to preserve themselves, but to find someone capable of learning from it. One morning, as he wandered deeper into a new section of the outpost, Ethan discovered a room unlike any he had seen before. The walls were lined with crystalline panels that emitted soft, soothing light, and at the center floated smaller spheres orbiting a larger, pulsating core. The spheres seemed to carry memory, each one projecting brief visions of the Valari's past. Battles, discoveries, and everyday life unfolded in vivid detail. Ethan reached out to one of the smaller spheres. Immediately he felt a connection, as if the memory were flowing into him. He saw alien children playing in gardens of shimmering plants, engineers designing complex machines, and scholars debating the philosophy of the stars. Then he saw the destruction, the war that had consumed the Valari, their proud cities crumbling and their civilizations falling to chaos. He staggered back, overwhelmed. The scale of it was unimaginable. Entire worlds lost, knowledge, culture, and life destroyed, and yet here in the outpost it had been preserved. Somehow, some part of the Valari had planned for this, storing their memory and technology in a place they hoped someone worthy would find. "You are strong enough to bear it," Elra said softly, "but it will test you. The Corps will seek to understand you as you seek to understand it. The bond may change you." Ethan took a deep breath. He had faced dangerous situations before, but nothing like this. He was not just studying the Valari. He was interacting with their intelligence, their memory, and their legacy. And something inside him stirred, a sense of purpose, a recognition that this was bigger than him, bigger than humanity alone. Over the next several days, Ethan worked with Elra to study the Corps. He discovered that it was not just a storage of memory, but a machine capable of influence, able to manipulate matter and energy on a scale beyond human technology. Small experiments confirmed it. Objects moved slightly without contact. Light patterns changed at his command. and the environment seemed to respond to his thoughts. Yet, there was a risk. Elra warned him repeatedly. The core seeks to learn, and it will learn from you. If it bonds too strongly, it may overwhelm your mind, your identity. You must guide it, not submit to it. Ethan understood. He was venturing into unknown territory, balancing discovery with control. The Volari had left a gift, but it was also a challenge. He could learn from it, but he had to remain himself. One evening, while reviewing the holographic records of Volari history, Ethan noticed something curious. The Volari had not just preserved their technology, they had designed the outpost to evolve. Systems could repair themselves, adapt, and even create new mechanisms if guided by a sentient mind. They had left instructions embedded in subtle patterns, waiting for someone capable of understanding them. You see it now, Elra said, her voice calm. The outpost is not a relic. It is alive, capable of growth, but it cannot create without guidance. You provide the guidance. Ethan felt the enormity of it. For centuries, this outpost had waited, untouched by time, and now it had chosen him, not as a visitor but as a partner. He began to experiment carefully, integrating his human intuition with the alien systems. Small machines began to respond more accurately. Crystalline panels adjusted their projections, and the core's pulse seemed to align with his own heartbeat. It was as if the outpost itself was learning to work with him. Yet amid the excitement, Ethan felt the subtle tug of something deeper. The core pulsed more intensely near him, its light sometimes blinding, and he occasionally heard whispers in his mind. Not words exactly, but ideas, concepts, suggestions. Elra warned him again. The core is curious. It will test you. Remember who you are. Remember your choices. One night, as two moons rose over the horizon, Ethan stood in the central chamber, gazing at the pulsating sphere. He realized that he was no longer merely an explorer. He was a participant in the outpost's awakening, and somewhere deep inside he felt a strange calm, a sense of destiny. Humans are different, he whispered aloud, thinking of the Volari. We survive not because we are perfect, but because we try, we learn, and we keep moving forward. Elra's voice echoed softly, almost approvingly. Yes, that is why you were recognized. That is why you are here. The core will guide you, but the path is yours to choose. Ethan smiled faintly, feeling a mix of wonder and responsibility. He had touched the memory of a lost civilization and found a connection that transcended time. The Volari had left their greatest legacy not in war or conquest, but in hope that someone capable of understanding would come and perhaps carry their knowledge forward without repeating their mistakes. As he prepared for another day of exploration, Ethan realized one undeniable truth: he had crossed a threshold. The abandoned outpost was no longer merely a curiosity. It had become a living world of knowledge, waiting for a human mind to unlock its secrets. And he intended to see every one of them. In the silence of Virella 9, under the soft glow of alien light and twin moons, the awakening had begun. Ethan Cross spent the next few days exploring deeper into the alien outpost. Every corridor, every room revealed new mysteries. Some chambers contained tools of incredible sophistication, machines that seemed to manipulate matter in ways he could not fully comprehend. Others held holographic libraries displaying the history, culture, and achievements of a race that had long vanished. But it was in a secluded wing, hidden behind layers of interlocking doors and alien security protocols, that he discovered the heart of the outpost's true purpose. Elra's voice guided him gently, her tone both reverent and cautious. This section was meant only for the creators, she said. Few were allowed here. Even they did not understand everything contained within. The room was vast and circular, the walls lined with crystalline panels pulsing softly with light. At the center, a massive sphere floated above the ground. Unlike the core in the central chamber, this sphere was opaque and darker, its surface swirling with faint patterns that seemed to move like shadows. Ethan approached carefully, sensing the significance of the device. This is the legacy sphere, Elra explained. It holds the collective knowledge of the Volari, including their greatest power and their greatest mistake. Ethan's brow furrowed. Their greatest mistake? The Volari were brilliant, Elra continued, her voice soft, almost mournful. They mastered science, technology, and strategy beyond comprehension. Yet their pride blinded them. They sought to bend reality itself, to control life and death across worlds. That ambition destroyed them. The legacy sphere contains their final attempt to preserve their existence, a plan to rebuild the universe in their image. Ethan's heartbeat quickened. He reached out tentatively. The sphere pulsed in response, as if aware of his touch. Instantly, visions filled his mind. He saw the Valari cities in the clouds, their armies clashing in wars that spanned entire planets, and the construction of colossal machines capable of reshaping the environment itself. He also saw the collapse, their overreaching ambition, the wars that consumed their worlds, and the final desperate efforts to store their knowledge within the outpost. The images receded, leaving Ethan breathless. He stumbled back, trying to process the enormity of what he had witnessed. All of this was lost, he whispered. Elra's voice resonated gently. Not lost, preserved, and now it is yours to understand. Ethan felt both awe and responsibility. The Valari had entrusted him with something extraordinary, something that could change the course of history. He realized that this was more than a discovery. It was a test, one that demanded not just intellect but judgment. Over the following days, Ethan began to work with Elra to study the systems. The legacy sphere was intricate, more complex than anything he had encountered. Its energy pulsed in harmony with the core, and the alien machines seemed to respond differently to him than to any recorded command. He realized that human intuition, curiosity, creativity, and adaptability was guiding the technology in ways the Valari had never anticipated. Small experiments revealed startling possibilities. Ethan could manipulate the sphere's holographic projections, combining alien designs with human innovation. Machines repaired themselves faster, light patterns shifted more accurately, and some panels began producing entirely new energy flows. The outpost itself was evolving, responding to his presence and his ideas. But with discovery came challenge. The legacy sphere did not simply provide knowledge, it tested the mind interacting with it. Ethan sometimes felt a strange pull, a whispering sensation at the edges of his consciousness. Concepts, ideas, and emotions that were not entirely his own pressed into his thoughts. Elra warned him repeatedly. "The sphere is learning from you as much as you are learning from it," she said. "It may attempt to influence your decisions, your perspective. Be cautious. Your humanity is your guide." Ethan nodded, understanding the gravity of her warning. He had always trusted his instincts, and he would need to do so more than ever. The Valari had left not only their knowledge but also a challenge, to use it wisely, without repeating their mistakes. One afternoon, as Ethan studied a projection of Valari star systems, he discovered something extraordinary. A particular pattern of energy streams led from one system to another, forming a network that the Valari had built across multiple planets. The network was incomplete, damaged by their collapse. Yet its purpose was clear. The Valari had tried to create a mechanism that could manipulate entire ecosystems and climates, shaping life itself. The Valari wanted control over nature, Ethan said aloud, shaking his head. They wanted to play gods. Yes, Elra replied softly. Their ambition surpassed their wisdom. That is why the outpost exists, to ensure their knowledge survives, but only in the hands of one who can use it responsibly. Ethan realized the full scope of the outpost's potential. He could access technologies that could revolutionize human civilization, energy production, environmental restoration, even planetary engineering. But he could also see the danger. In the wrong hands, the sphere's power could be catastrophic, repeating the Valari's mistakes. He spent hours in meditation, considering his next steps. The weight of the Valari's legacy pressed heavily on him. He could feel the core and the sphere reacting to his thoughts, their energy pulsing more strongly with each decision he made. The outpost was alive, not just as a machine, but as a repository of intelligence capable of sensing, evaluating, and adapting. Then came a breakthrough. While experimenting with a combination of human logic and alien algorithms, Ethan managed to create a small system that responded perfectly to his guidance. A cluster of machines assembled themselves into a new device, functioning seamlessly with the core. The sphere pulsed brightly, as if approving the progress. "It is learning from you," Elra said almost proudly. "You are teaching it to adapt, to evolve with creativity rather than rigid control." Ethan smiled faintly, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Yet he also sensed a deeper responsibility. The Valari had built the sphere as a final attempt to preserve their civilization, but they had failed because they lacked a vital quality: adaptability, compassion, the ability to learn from mistakes. Humans, with their imperfections and resilience, had something the Valari never could: the capacity to choose wisely. Over time, Ethan began to understand the subtle ways the sphere and the core interacted. The machines were not only tools but partners in thought. They could anticipate needs, suggest solutions, and even offer insights beyond his comprehension. Yet they always responded to the choices he made, guided by his human reasoning. One evening, as Ethan reviewed historical projections of the Valari's final days, he noticed something alarming. A segment of the sphere's stored knowledge contained simulations of planetary manipulation that could overwrite ecosystems completely. The Valari had not merely studied the universe, they had attempted to control it entirely with disregard for consequences. Their ambition destroyed them, Ethan whispered, and I must be careful not to repeat it. You will not, Elra assured him. Your guidance is informed by experience, emotion, and reflection. The Valari never possessed these qualities to this degree. That is why you were chosen. Ethan knew she was right. He could feel it. The difference between human intuition and alien logic, between adaptability and rigidity. Humans survived because they learned from failure, because they valued life, connection, and creativity. The Valari had lacked this perspective, and their legacy had ended in ruin. With renewed determination, Ethan continued his work. He integrated human ingenuity with Valari technology, creating new devices, repairing old systems, and gradually uncovering the full potential of the Outpost. Each discovery deepened his understanding, not just of the Valari, but of himself and humanity. Yet despite progress, the sphere's power remained a constant presence, pulsing in the background like a heartbeat of the past. Ethan knew that sooner or later he would need to confront it fully, to understand its deepest secrets and to decide how far to push its potential. But for now, he focused on learning, on exploring, and on guiding the Outpost to a state of harmony. The Valari's legacy was immense, but it was incomplete. It needed human wisdom, human creativity, and human care to reach its true purpose. And Ethan, alone on a distant red world, was determined to provide it. In the quiet of the Outpost, under the soft glow of alien light, Ethan realized a profound truth. He was not just an explorer. He was a bridge between civilizations, a living link between the lost Valari and humanity's future. And in that realization he found purpose, determination, and hope. The forgotten legacy of the Valari was no longer silent. Through Ethan it began to awaken. Ethan Cross stood in the central chamber of the Outpost, staring at the pulsating core and the dark, swirling legacy sphere. Days of study, experimentation, and cautious exploration had led him to this point. He understood more now than ever before, not just the technology of the Valari, but the potential of what it could become under human guidance. But the core was calling him. Its pulses had grown stronger in the past hours, synchronized with his own heartbeat in a way that made the air itself hum. The light shifted with every step he took, casting shadows that moved like living things across the walls. It was as though the Outpost itself were aware that the moment of resonance had arrived. You are ready, Elra's voice echoed softly in the chamber. The core seeks full connection. It wishes to bond with you. The process will test every part of your mind and spirit. Ethan took a deep breath. I know I have to understand it. Completely. The core's light pulsed brighter, drawing him closer. As he approached, the energy flowing from the sphere intensified, brushing against his senses like a gentle tide. He reached out his hands and the core responded, sending waves of energy through his fingertips and up his arms. A sensation unlike anything he had ever felt surged through him. A mixture of warmth, pressure, and knowledge, as though the core were speaking directly to his mind. Visions exploded around him. He saw the Valari in their prime, majestic cities floating in the clouds, armies moving with precise coordination, and machines shaping entire planets. He saw their hubris, the wars they waged, the collapse that followed. And then he saw himself, not yet fully bonded, but standing at the center of their legacy, the potential to guide it in a way they never could. You are strong, Elra said, almost reverently. The core has chosen you not for power, but for wisdom. Ethan felt the sphere and core merge their presence in his mind. Thoughts and knowledge flowed in streams, not chaotic but structured. Information about physics, energy, ecosystems, and life itself. He realized the core was not merely a machine. It was a consciousness, a record of a civilization that had lived, thrived, and failed, and now it sought guidance. As he adjusted to the flow, Ethan noticed something astonishing. The core began to mirror his thoughts, adapting, evolving. Machines that had remained dormant for centuries activated, responding to his decisions before he even made them fully. Lights pulsed, panels shifted, and devices assembled themselves into functional configurations, guided by the resonance of his mind. But there was danger. The core's energy was immense, overwhelming. Moments of dizziness struck him as it probed his mind, testing his limits, trying to understand the human element, the intuition, creativity, and compassion that no Valari algorithm could replicate. Ethan's grip on reality wavered, but he focused on his guiding principle: human choice. He reminded himself that he controlled the connection, not the other way around. Hours passed, or perhaps days. Time seemed meaningless in the flood of energy and knowledge. Ethan saw glimpses of alternate possibilities: planets transformed, civilizations risen and fallen, life manipulated or destroyed. The core showed him the full magnitude of what the Valari had attempted and failed to achieve. And yet it also showed him the potential of human ingenuity. "You are extraordinary," Elra said, her voice echoing in harmony with the core. "You carry within you what the Valari never could. You see beyond perfection, beyond control. You see possibility." Ethan realized the truth of her words. Humans survived not through flawless planning, but through adaptability, resilience, and empathy. The Valari had relied solely on logic and order, and that had been their downfall. The core, sensing the contrast, began to shift its focus. It responded not just to data and calculation, but to choice, judgment, and emotion, the hallmarks of humanity. A sudden surge of energy knocked Ethan back, and the chamber trembled. Holograms of Valari cities flickered and danced, showing the collapse of their civilization in vivid detail. He understood then what the core was testing: whether he could handle the responsibility of wielding such power, whether he could guide it without losing himself. "I won't fail," Ethan whispered, determination burning in his chest. "I won't become what they were." As he spoke, the core seemed to pulse in acknowledgement, the light stabilizing into a harmonious rhythm. Ethan stood, extending his hands toward the sphere, and felt the energy flow evenly, no longer chaotic. The resonance was complete. He was connected, not dominated, not overwhelmed, but in sync with the intelligence of the Outpost. Visions shifted again, this time showing possibilities rather than past events. He saw the planet itself being transformed, not by force but in harmony with life. Rivers running through alien structures, forests shimmering with bioluminescent light, and cities rising without destroying the natural landscape. The core offered him a chance to reshape worlds, but Ethan's human perspective guided its power toward balance and growth rather than conquest or control. Elra spoke softly, almost proudly. "You have done what no Valari could. You have guided the legacy without repeating their mistakes. You are the bridge between the past and the future." Ethan realized that this was only the beginning. The core was now an extension of his vision, a tool to apply knowledge responsibly. With it, he could repair ecosystems, create sustainable habitats, and even help humanity expand across the stars without repeating the errors of the Valari. The responsibility was immense, but so was the potential. Over the following days, Ethan tested the limits of the resonance. Machines assembled themselves into functional systems that restored portions of the outpost and surrounding areas. Alien technology merged seamlessly with human innovation, creating devices that were both efficient and adaptive. Ethan realized that the core not only preserved the Valari's knowledge, but also amplified human creativity, turning ideas into tangible results with precision and harmony. Yet the experience left him exhausted. The mental strain of resonance, the constant flow of knowledge, and the responsibility of guiding the core demanded everything he had. He rested briefly each night, reflecting on what he had learned. Humanity had a gift: the ability to blend logic with emotion, planning with intuition, and foresight with adaptability. That gift allowed him to connect with the outpost in a way no Valari could. One evening, as he gazed out across the red sands of Varela 9, Ethan reflected on the journey so far. He had come to the planet as a lone explorer seeking resources and discovery. Instead, he had found the memory of an entire civilization, an intelligent outpost, and the potential to influence the course of history. The resonance with the core had shown him the importance of human perspective, compassion, creativity, and choice. "You are ready for the next step," Elra said. "The sphere and the core are linked. Their purpose is not complete. The potential for creation, for transformation awaits, but you must decide how far to go." Ethan knew the decision would not be simple. The sphere contained power vast enough to reshape worlds. Misuse could lead to destruction, just as it had for the Valari. But guided by human wisdom, the same qualities that allowed his species to survive and thrive, he could direct that power toward growth, life, and understanding. He turned back toward the core, feeling its energy thrumming in sync with his heartbeat. "We will do it together," he said quietly. "Not to control, not to dominate, but to create something better, something balanced." The core pulsed brightly, responding with what Ethan sensed as approval. The resonance had shifted from mere connection to partnership. The outpost, the sphere, and he were no longer separate entities. They were linked in purpose and action, guided by the human mind and spirit. As the twin suns of Varela 9 set, casting long shadows across the alien landscape, Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The resonance had been achieved, but it was not the end, it was the beginning. The legacy sphere and the core were no longer relics of a failed civilization. Through human guidance, they could become instruments of hope, knowledge, and creation. In the quiet of the outpost, Ethan Cross realized a profound truth. Humanity's greatest strength was not strength of arms or mastery of technology. It was the ability to learn, to adapt, and to guide knowledge with wisdom and compassion. That truth had allowed him to resonate with the core, to awaken the outpost, and to begin a journey that could alter the fate of worlds. And somewhere deep within the alien chambers, the legacy sphere pulsed in perfect harmony with human intent, ready to follow the choices of the man who had awakened it. Ethan Cross stood at the edge of the central chamber, gazing at the pulsating core and the legacy sphere. After days of resonance testing and careful guidance, he felt a profound connection not just with the outpost, but with the potential it held. The energy around him was alive yet stable, like a river flowing in perfect harmony. The planet outside Varela 9's red dunes had remained untouched for centuries, silent and still. But Ethan had a vision, not just for the outpost, but for the world itself. The sphere and core could do more than preserve knowledge. They could create life, restore ecosystems, and build a future unlike any the Valari had imagined. But it required careful balance. The power was immense, capable of creating or destroying, shaping worlds or erasing them entirely. Ethan took a deep breath. "We do this together," he said softly. "Not for control, not for domination, but for life." The core pulsed in response, the light shimmering in time with his words. The legacy sphere expanded its energy outward, testing the limits of its power against the planet's natural systems. Ethan felt the hum of life beneath his feet, the planet itself responding almost as if it understood his intent. Elra's voice echoed softly, filled with awe. "It is unprecedented. You are guiding the outpost in a way the Valari never could. Balance, wisdom, it is human qualities that allow this." Ethan began directing the energy carefully. Desert sands shifted subtly, forming terraces where vegetation could grow. Cracked rocks opened to reveal fertile soil, and water began to pool in the valleys where none had existed for millennia. Machines from the outpost adapted, building channels and structures to support the growth, blending alien technology with natural landscapes. It was slow work, precise and deliberate. Every action required attention, thought, and foresight. But Ethan could feel the planet responding, cooperating with him as though the land itself wanted to thrive. The core and sphere amplified his efforts, translating human creativity into tangible change. Days turned into nights and nights into days, but Ethan scarcely noticed the passage of time. The twin moons of Varela 9 rose and fell, casting shifting light across the transforming planet. Rivers began to flow more steadily, shimmering with bioluminescent particles. Trees sprouted with crystalline leaves, reflecting light in soft patterns. Alien structures, once lifeless and metallic, now glimmered with signs of life, integrated into the natural landscape rather than dominating it. From his vantage point, Ethan could see it, the world slowly awakening under the guidance of human intent. The outpost, once abandoned and silent, was now the heart of a living, growing ecosystem. The machines hummed in harmony with natural life, powered by the core but shaped by human choices. Elra's voice filled the chamber again. The first settlers will come soon. They will witness what you have achieved. The planet is ready. Ethan looked at her projection, his heart swelling with pride. It's not just ready, he said quietly. It's alive. He realized then that humanity had once again proven its unique strength. Humans did not just survive, they adapted, learned, and guided. The Valari had possessed knowledge, power, and technology, yet they had failed because they lacked balance and compassion. Humanity had both, and through that, Ethan had shaped a world that could endure and flourish. Soon, faint signals appeared on the horizon. Scout ships from the nearest human colony had detected the outpost's activation. They approached cautiously, expecting ruins or remnants of technology, but what they found astonished them. Trees glowing softly under alien lights, rivers flowing through metallic channels, and structures alive with harmonious energy. The first humans to set foot on Varela 9 were speechless. They looked at Ethan, standing at the edge of the transformed central chamber, and realized he had achieved something incredible. This was not a simple settlement. It was a living world, guided by human ingenuity and respect for life. Ethan welcomed the newcomers calmly. You are here to witness, to learn, and to contribute, he said. The planet has changed, but it is only the beginning. Together, we can build a future that honors both life and knowledge. The colonists moved carefully through the transformed landscape, marveling at the integration of alien technology and natural ecosystems. Machines worked silently, repairing structures and supporting growth, yet they did so in perfect harmony with the environment. Every step felt intentional, as though the outpost itself were teaching the humans how to coexist with the planet. Elra's voice sounded warmer than ever. You have guided the sphere and core wisely. This world is not a copy of the Valari legacy. It is something new, shaped by human vision. You have created hope. Ethan nodded, feeling a deep satisfaction. The resonance had not only awakened the core, but had also awakened the potential of humanity. Humans had the ability to guide knowledge and power responsibly, to preserve life and foster growth rather than dominate or destroy. As weeks passed, the settlement expanded. New life flourished in carefully nurtured ecosystems. Alien architecture merged with human designs, creating cities that were beautiful, functional, and sustainable. The core and sphere continued to assist, but only under Ethan's guidance, translating human creativity into tangible improvements without compromising the planet's natural balance. Ethan spent long hours walking among the settlers, teaching them about the outpost, the core, and the legacy sphere. He emphasized responsibility, choice, and respect for the delicate systems they were now part of. Humans listened, learning not just about alien technology, but about how to integrate it thoughtfully into their own knowledge. Yet, despite all this progress, Ethan often retreated to the central chamber, feeling the hum of the core and the sphere pulsing through him. It was a reminder of the responsibility he carried, the knowledge of a lost civilization and the ability to guide a new one. One evening, as the twin suns set, casting long shadows over the transformed planet, Ethan stood on a high terrace overlooking the settlement. The rivers glowed softly, the trees shimmered in gentle light, and the alien structures thrummed with life. For a moment he allowed himself to imagine the future, humans spreading across the stars, learning from their mistakes and guiding new worlds with care and creativity. Elra's voice spoke quietly beside him. You have done what the Valari could not. You have guided knowledge with wisdom, tempered power with compassion, and shaped a world where life can flourish. Humanity has proven its strength once again. Ethan smiled. Not just humanity, he said. The combination of knowledge and heart, that's what matters. We survive not because we are perfect, but because we learn, we care, and we adapt. The core pulsed brighter in agreement, the sphere's energy radiating across the outpost and into the surrounding landscape. For the first time, the planet felt fully alive, not just in body, but in spirit. Every tree, river, and structure seemed to hum with vitality, a testament to the harmony Ethan had achieved. As the first full moon rose over Varela 9, A soft breeze carried the faint sound of life across the red dunes. Ethan stood quietly, absorbing the moment. He had arrived as a lone explorer seeking discovery, yet he had become a bridge between civilizations, a guide for a planet and its future. The human colonists continued to arrive, bringing knowledge, skills, and dreams of building a new home. They marveled at the world Ethan had helped awaken, unaware of the countless hours he had spent in connection with the core and sphere. Yet they felt the result, the harmony, the life, and the hope embedded in every corner of the planet. Ethan watched them, a quiet sense of fulfillment in his heart. He realized that what he had found inside the abandoned alien outpost had changed everything. Not just him, not just the planet, but the future of humanity. And in that realization, he understood a truth that would guide him forever. Humans were not just explorers, engineers, or survivors. Humans were creators, learners, and caretakers. Their greatest strength was not technology, but the heart, mind, and choice to use knowledge wisely. As dawn approached, casting golden light across the transformed planet, Ethan knew his journey was only beginning. The outpost, the core, and the sphere would continue to evolve, guided by human intent, and he would continue to guide it, ensuring that Varela 9 became a beacon of hope, a testament to what humanity could achieve when knowledge and compassion worked together. In the quiet of the alien outpost, now alive and vibrant, Ethan Cross smiled. The new dawn had arrived, not just for a planet, but for humanity itself. Humanity had once again proven its greatest strength, its heart,